now have added details for Amazon's Lord of the Rings. So let's get right to it. What do we now know? Now we have some more specific photos about particular key characters. Some of these are very well known. A lot of these are very new characters. Well, we have Galadriel, who's a very powerful female elf, and Elrond, who is essentially her son-in-law. They are changing the characters a little bit because Elrond here is much more explicitly a politician. Before he was just kind of this wise leader. So this isn't disturbing the character completely, but it is reframing what we think of Elrond. And Galadriel is being decked out in armor, which is already worrying some people because given her power, given how old she is, reportedly she'll be sort of like this angst-ridden teenager, which doesn't fit her age or character as shown in Lord of the Rings book, in Tolkien's actual books. But again, want to be careful, these are just reports. We're also getting some of the dwarves, so we're going to be getting Durin, and a particular kind of Durin. Now the Durins are essentially these very powerful mythic royalty within the dwarf community. Presumably we're going to see Moira, the Mines of Moira, but in a different way, because obviously in the film, as well as the books, they're close to death. We're going to be seeing dwarf civilization in its prime, and just as it declines as well, depending on how far we go with the series. We also have this female dwarf, Diza, or Diz, and already some people complaining here that she doesn't typically look like what they imagine a female dwarf should look like. But again, a lot of details we don't know, depending on the story, could fit with canon, could be this is an actual elf, or even female woman who was given a choice to become a dwarf. That happens, right? Depending on situations. You get to choose what you become or want to be, whether an elf or a mortal, and then the circumstances and consequences that follow, right? If you choose to be a mortal, you die. And we have some additional completely new characters, such as Arendor, who is being described as an elf, but some people are already theorizing this is really an Ent in disguise, or this is how the Ent should appear to us. So it's unclear if this is an elf and or an Ent, but we shall wait and see. And he strikes up a relationship with an explicitly human woman, Bronwyn. And again, within the Tolkien canon, this is rare because people know Arwen and Aragorn and their famous romance, but again, Tolkien does not show that much. So interspecies relationships do happen. Sometimes they're happy because if you read the sequel, Shadow, to Lord of the Rings, they seem to have a happy relationship, although we don't get many details. We only know that they lived long together, he died naturally, presumably in love, and Aragorn was a wise and beloved king. But usually interspecies relationships are very tragic in the Tolkien universe. Is this going to be a tragic love story or an optimistic love story? We're going to have to wait and see. So along with Durin, we're getting some of the key players who we later find in the Third Age, but again, they're sort of more cameos by the time we get to the Third Age, like Celebrimbor, who essentially is the creator of the rings, but by accident because Sauron tricks him into creating the rings. He realizes this too late and then is captured and tortured, but nobly holds out. But yes, he inadvertently creates the danger that threatens Middle-earth. And since they're condensing the timeline, that event may happen much quicker than we think in terms of the rings being created and the war starting. But again, we don't know because some of the additional characters are a little confusing. As you know from my other content, I do Game of Thrones, and they have a lot of familiar faces. So we have young Eddard, as he was played in Game of Thrones, and he's playing essentially a lead hero, but not much more information. It's going to be a major part of the show. And then we have Benjen, who is called Oren in this Amazon series, and he will be an antagonist. But what kind of antagonist? Is he magical? An elf? Is this Sauron? Is this one of Sauron's disguises? Don't know, but he's going to be an antagonist. We also have Tyra, who is a female. That is all we know. We just have a female actress. We have Halbrand, who is going to be a human. What kind of human? We don't know. He looks like a smith. He's very young and handsome. This could be Sauron, we don't know, or one of his minions, don't know. Now, these characters don't exist in the Tolkien universe. They're completely new, they're made up, so who or what they are, really, we have not a clue. They have not yet revealed which actor or actress is playing Sauron. Because remember, Sauron, yes, is canonically a male as Anatar, but Sauron is a shapeshifter, so he could be playing multiple roles within the series. So quite literally, 1, 2, 3, 4 actors could be playing Sauron simultaneously. Because at this point, he's hiding out. Galadriel suspects something is going on with him, and she's very rare because a lot of other people are willing to believe him, and that's where we are. So Sauron is, within the canon, sort of like this very sneaky figure who tricks people into working for him or carrying out his designs. He's frustrated throughout the Second Age, and it culminates in the war for the rings. He's defeated, which leads into, of course, Lord of the Rings. But where this is all going, still don't know, because it is weird that Galadriel is wearing the armor. Who is she fighting? Are they going to start with the battle for the War of the Rings and then cleverly flash back and then move back and forth between time periods? Again, presumably the future promotional material will more clearly stabilize where we are in the timeline and what the narrative structure will be. And that's all we know so far from Amazon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Thank you for listening.